Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Sincere Lifestyle. Today, we have the pleasure of interviewing Jenny De La Cruz, author and licensed professional counselor, our dear sister.
And we're just so excited. This is her second book, and
Yes.
It's called Mama, Can I Sleep With You Tonight? This is helping children cope with the impact of COVID-19.
She will be sharing key how-tos throughout the interview that can help you and your family during this time.
Welcome, Jenny.
Welcome, Jenny. So glad that you're here.
Yes. Welcome back to our channel.
Yes, I'm so grateful to be amongst my sisters, and I love what you guys are doing.
Yeah, and we're so proud of you and excited about your second book, Mama, Can I Sleep With You Tonight?
Yes. So can you describe what this book is about and what inspired you to write it?
Yes, to be honest with you, my own two sons inspired me to write this book. Yes, and family, they're your nephews. And so, this story is about a boy who's having a hard time sleeping because he has these big feelings and about social distancing. And he runs to his mom's room and she comforts him the best way that she knows how. And at the end of the story, I provide free resources and tools to help parents walk with their children through the stages of grief. Because let's be honest, we all are dealing with some level of loss here with this new way of life.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, sadly, many of us have lost loved ones. And so this book is not just a children's book, it's really for everyone.
I love it.
So excited for this book. Can you tell me about your YouTube channel?
Yes, we love it. Tell us about it.
Thank you. So my YouTube channel is called Storytime with Miss Melange. And in this channel, I read various books from different authors, children's books that focuses on celebrating diversity. And after each story, I always try to ask a question to promote critical thinking skills. And honestly, I started this channel before I started writing children's books because, as my sons are biracial, Haitian and Filipino descent, I wanted them to see a whole array of books that represented diversity, books about history, about different social important issues for them to glean from that. And that's why I created this channel, not just for them, but other children as well. And to be honest, it really took off when social distancing became a thing, because I think that parents were really looking for additional resource as they homeschool their children.
So good.
Makes sense. How do you discuss grief, anxiety, fear with your children?
Okay, this is not easy, even for myself as a licensed counselor. It can be real messy, and so I just want to keep it real, because I think that people feel like, am I the only one that feel like this is much? Yeah, you're not alone. But I would say to really use their language. Now, with children, one of their language tools is play, and so when you see a child playing on the floor, get down on the floor with them.
Right.
Say, hey, what's going on? When you're on their level, they can see you, make that great eye contact. It's very different from you towering over them and asking them the same questions, and so that is huge. And I think that when you start to create a culture in your home, when you're constantly checking in, that child feels like, wow, my parents is really concerned about me, and they want to know how I'm feeling. It creates an environment of safety, which is so important. And I will also say use art. Art is another language tool for kids. And in fact, my youngest son, one day he asked me to bring something back from the grocery store. He wanted some Oreos. We like to have our story time with cookies, and surprisingly, they were out. And I couldn't believe it. And he was so frustrated. And I thought afterwards he was fine because he went back to playing. But a day or two later, I started to see some more of that frustration.
Mhm.
So I gave him a piece of paper and some crayons. I said, draw how you're feeling. And he was really at it. And next thing I know, he's drawing a picture of me. And I'm like, wait, hold up for a minute. And I said, what's going on? And he said, Mommy, you're at the supermarket. You're so angry. No more Oreos. You see, you're stomping your feet. I said, wow. And you know what? As cute as he was doing that, I was really grateful that he had that tool, because let's say he took it out on his older brother. It could have escalated,
Yeah.
and I would have no idea where the source of that was from. And so this book is going to help parents with these kind of tools, because we don't want our kids to be stuck in grief. And
Right.
Honestly, it will help us as well, because it will help us to tap into our own feelings of loss as well.
That's really great, expressing your feelings. How can you discuss how the book is relevant outside the context of COVID-19?
That's an excellent question. And I would say that is very relevant, because this book talks about big feelings, right? We have anger, we have sadness, and then we have elements of joy. And I think with children, especially younger children, it's really important for them to learn how to express their feelings. And so this book is for that. This book is also for the child who have experienced loss of a loved one, because in this book, I go through the 5 stages of grief in the story in a way that a child can understand it. And so, for example, the 5 stages of grief are denial, anger, sadness, bargaining, and acceptance. And I think that is important for families to be aware of these stages, so that when they see their children going through what may seem like mood swings, they can know, wait a minute, this kind of reminds me of those stages.
Interesting. So this book is relevant in terms of grief in a general sense outside of COVID.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? I forgot. I have to give my son credit for this book, because I have 2 boys, but one of them ran into my room April 5th at 3 a.m. Okay.
Won't he do it?
Listen, and I was just like, of course, after he shares his feelings, and he falls right back to sleep.
Yeah.
And here I am wide awake. And so what do? I do what I tell my clients not to do when you're trying to sleep. I pick up my phone. I had all these ideas. It just came flooding to me. It was just like all the things that I observed from my own children and from the children in the community, the stages of grief. It just came to me. It's almost like it was so quick, I had to quickly write it down. And to be honest with you, I really believe that God used my son to give me this story, not just to help him, but to be a blessing for other children as well. Because, I think it's really hard for a lot of families. They're homeschooling for the first time. A lot of them are working while they're doing it, and some of them have lost their jobs. And so we're at a point where we feel like there's no hope, but no, we have to utilize each other and resources. And so this is the time we need to come towards each other and support one another.
This is also great, Jenny. We just love hearing this. How has your career helped you with your writing?
As a counselor, I've been practicing for about 10 years, and I've worked with children and families, those who experience trauma, depression, and anxiety. And in my line of counseling, I have noticed how individuals and families were struggling with social distancing. And I started to notice that even for my clients who haven't experienced the loss of a loved one, they were going through the stages of grief differently. And so I began to notice that we're all going through these stages, and how it's important to tap into it and to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like with all the news, social media, all the Netflix, Hulu, and all those things are great. Don't get me wrong. But I think that's easy to bury our head in the sand and not deal with what's going on in our hearts. And so this is what really encouraged me to go deeper and to really tap into what's going on with the social and emotional state of our children and families.
Oh my goodness, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, what advice would you give to parents who are struggling with homeschooling their children?
You know, if I can leave any tips, I would say the main tips I would leave to parents is to really utilize what I mentioned earlier, the importance of play and art, right? To connect with their children. The second tip I would share is that it's really truly important to allow children to release their frustration physically. So this could mean like if your child is having a rough time, encourage them to go to their room and punch their pillows, right? Um, you know, a lot of times when children or even ourselves are feeling frustration and anger, we shame ourselves. Oh, you shouldn't feel that way. But anger is a natural emotion.
Yeah.
And as long as you are appropriate in expressing it, I think that it's fine. And so this is a way to allow children to experience that frustration without the shame of it. And I would say even getting a bowl, filling it with rice for younger children and having them really squeeze it with their fingers. This will allow them to release the tension in their bodies and calm their central nervous system. And you know, to be honest, as adults, we need that too. Sometimes when I'm homeschooling, I got my stress ball and I'm squeezing it, you know. And so let's keep it real. Like, you know, we need to work out too, not just
Yeah.
to be physically fit, but to also release the tension
Right.
that all of these changes have caused in our bodies. And so, and the last tip, the third tip, I would say, it's so important to validate the feelings of children. And so, you know, when your child is saying, you know, I feel sad because I can't see my friend or I can't hug, you know, Nana, and I feel this, it's really important to say, you know what, I feel sad too. And I feel frustrated and angry too. And that child is like, wow, because a lot of times they see us as superheroes. And it's important for them to see that they're not alone and they're not struggling on their own. And I think that this will also help us as well to deal with some of the feelings maybe we've been stuffing, to be quite honest. And I would say for parents, you know, give yourself a break. You know, if at the end of the day the house is not perfectly cleaned, go to bed early. It's all good because who's coming over anyway?
Oh, no one.
Right? Yeah.
What else are you working on? Are there more books coming that we can look forward to?
Yeah, you know, that is a really great question because I'm excited to share that I'm going to be releasing part 2 of Fridays with Miss Melange Haiti. And this is going to be the part after the independence. And so if you haven't seen the first part of the story, you can actually watch it for free on my YouTube channel, Storytime with Miss Melange.
So excited for you, you know, with the second book, and then you're working on a third one as well.
Yes.
So good.
So what advice can you give to parents who are struggling to discuss COVID-19 with their children?
Yeah, you know, I would say to be honest with your children. A lot of times we you know, we want to hold back or we want to sugarcoat things. But, you know, if your child comes to you with questions, of course, in an age appropriate way, you know, it's important to be honest with them because that builds trust, you know. And I would say that, you know, it's also important, as I mentioned, to let them know how you're feeling as well. About everything, not just to state the facts, to say this is happening, but to say I'm feeling this way about that, because then you can process it together. But I think that's the main thing I would say is to be honest, because a lot of times we think, well, you know, we don't want to take away their childhood, so to speak. We want them to just believe everything is fine, but I think that can be a disservice, because then you don't mentally prepare them. They need to be prepared, especially for whatever changes will take place in the fall when school starts back again.
That's really great. And I feel like, as parents, they have to unearth their feelings and also be in tune with how they're feeling to see their children's feelings as well. I feel like that's key as well. Yeah.
And you know what? Talking about unearthing feelings, I really strongly believe that just in general, we really have to take care of ourselves. And I love how your channel promotes that whole idea of self-care. Yeah, because we really need to do that, especially at a time such as this, right? And also the idea of radical self-care. And Girl talk a lot about that, radical self-care, about really using the community, right? Because no one is an island, and I think that especially at a time like this, we need each other.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's important to find creative ways to connect with others. I know with my church, my community group, they do like a phone tree where you have to check on one person and the other person checking on someone. So at the end of the day, you might not have checked on only one person, but everyone got checked on. Yeah, and so it is so key, because I think that it's easy in our society to focus on, we're just an individual, we're doing our thing, I'm doing me. But I think that whole mindset, when you're isolated, you're on your own, it can actually weaken you.
Right.
Absolutely believe it. Well, thank you so much, Jenny, for coming back on The Sincere Lifestyle.
It's been
Thank you for having me.
Speaking with you.
And we are so excited about your book. Can you say the title one more time?
Yes, I actually have it here. It's called Mama, Can I Sleep With You Tonight? And helping children cope with the impact of COVID-19. And it's actually available now at Barnes & Noble. The ebook, paperback, and hard copy is available for pre-sale. And on June 1st, I'm excited to share, I'm going to have a premiere at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on my YouTube channel. So make sure to tune in, ladies.
I'm so excited.
Can't wait. I can't wait. And congratulations on your second book.
Yes.
Thank you. Love you guys.
Love you, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for tuning in.
And remember to hit like and subscribe. See you next time.